Hello, and welcome to my tutorial. This is what I'll be covering in this video. Let's begin. First, we create a folder in starter character scripts. And then we rename it to ability. After that, we create a local script in the ability folder, and then rename it to ability input. Now we can start scripting. We first get the user input service, and then the replicated storage. After we've defined the user input service and the replicated storage, we create a boolean for our cooldown, a boolean being a true or false value. Now, we will need a remote event to send a signal to any server scripts that will be listening for it. First, add a folder and rename it to events. Then, add a remote event to the folder and rename it to ability event. Keep in mind that you can name them whatever you like. Just make sure that you're defining them correctly in your scripts. Now, let's define the remote event. Now we use user input service to detect inputs and connect it to a function by using input began. We then make input and game processed event as parameters. Now we can make an if statement, checking if there's a cooldown or if the player is typing. If either of these two is true, then the script will return to end. This means that the script will just end and not do anything past the if statement. We can now set the input to whatever we want. I'll set my input to the Q key. If the user's input is Q, then it will fire server, or in other words, send a signal to any server script. After we fire a signal, we can then start the cooldown by setting our debounce to true. In order to add a duration to the cooldown, we will use wait or task.wait. You can put any number in between the parentheses, depending on the duration of the cooldown you'd like. After the duration, we change the value of debounce to false to reset the cooldown. And just like that, we are done with the local script. Pretty easy, right? Now, onto the server script. First, create a folder and a server script in server script service. Then, rename the folder to ability and the server script to server ability. Now we can start scripting. We begin our server script by defining replicated storage and our remote. Then we make a table for our debounce. Tables, if you did not know, store values like booleans, numbers, strings, and functions. So now, we make the server script listen for the signal that the local script sends by using the same remote we used in the local script. To do this, we use onServer event. We then create an if statement. Using table.find, we first get the table. In this case, the table is debounce. And then we put a comma and put what value we want the table to find, which, in this case, would be the player's name. However, the player's name is not defined in the debounce table, so it will return nil. So, if the table does not equal nil, then it will go on cooldown. If it does equal nil, then it will pass to else. Sorry if I'm typing slowly, This is a tutorial meant for beginners after all lol. So that if the player presses the Q key again, it will not equal nil because we've defined the value by inserting it. To insert the value, we will use table.insert. We can then make a cooldown duration by using task.wait or wait. After the cooldown duration is over, we will need a way to reset the cooldown. To do this, we will have to set the value in the debounce table to nil. So, in order to access the values inside a table, we will have to put the name of the table we want to access. And to access it, we will have to put a normal bracket. Then, we will use table.find to find the value so that we can change it to nil, as demonstrated on line 14. So now it's time to make the VFX. I will probably make a tutorial on how to make your own custom particles in the future, but for now, I'll be using an already made asset, Roblox image ID in the description. So first, spawn a sphere in the workspace. Then rename it to Fireball. I will change the material of the sphere to neon, but you may leave it however you'd like. Here are my final properties of the sphere if you wish to copy. Then add a particle emitter. In the Particles Properties tab, look for Texture and paste the image ID on the box right of it, depending on where your Properties tab is on the screen. Here, I'll just be making the particles to my liking. You can follow along if you'd like. And now that we are finished, the next step is to place the fireball into replicated storage. Now we can begin animating the sphere. Let's go into our server script, and in our server script we will get Tween service. Tween service is what will allow us to animate our object. Let's define our fireball and our character. After we've defined both our fireball and character, let's now spawn the object whenever the script is run. To do this, we first have to set the fireball's parent to workspace so that it can be viewed. Then we make the fireball's C-frame to equal our character's humanoid C-frame. C-frames, if you did not know, are simply used for 3D positions and rotations for 3D objects. Cool, it works. Now let's just experiment to get it to spawn in front rather than inside. So now, in order to animate the object, we will want to use tweens. First, we will make the info, which will determine when, how, number of times we want it to repeat, whether it reverses, and if we want to delay it. Second, we make a goal for our tween. In this case, I want my sphere to shoot out from position A to position B.
This is my song, and no one can take it away. It's been so long, but now you're here to stay. And I wonder if you know what it means to find your dreams come true.
Lastly, we create our tween and then play it whenever the script is running.
This is my song, and no one can make it alive. It's been so long since someone could make me cry, and I wonder if you know what it means to laugh as tears go by.
After a lot of experimenting, I finally managed to end up with something I personally like. You could experiment as well if you'd like. I recommend you do.
But you don't have to be near me to know that I'm singing. This is my song, and nothing can make it die. It's been so long.
So now, onto the hitbox we go. To start scripting our hitbox, we will need to create a server script inside our fireball. Let's rename our script to hitbox. Now we can start scripting. First we define our fireball and then create a bounce.
As long as I live, I will sing my song.
We then can use a touched event so that whenever something touches our fireball, it will run the script. In order to cause a player to get damaged, we will have to detect what the fireball is touching and whether it's a player or not. That's why, with the hit parameter, not only can we know what our fireball is hitting, but also look for something parented to whatever we hit. In this case, we want the humanoid of a character. If what our fireball hits is not what we want, then it will return end. Now, we will create a debounce so that our hitbox doesn't run more than once. In this debounce, we insert the value character.name so that, when the fireball touches anything again, it will do nothing because of this statement on line 9. Now, we define the player head and get their humanoid by using one of the player's parts parented to the player's character. Then tell the script to find the first object named humanoid. After that, we check if it's the enemy, and if it is, we will damage them. We're now done with the hitbox. Let's test it now. So now, let's create the stunt for ability casting. It's honestly really simple. All we have to do is set the walk speed to 0 and disable camera rotation for a certain duration. And then after that duration, set everything back to normal. Woohoo, let's go. So now we can destroy our fireball so that it won't just exist forever. This is also a really simple thing to do. All we need to do is use game.debris, put the object we want to destroy and the time it will take to destroy it, and we are done. I recommend that you use the time it takes for the object to get to where you shot at to destroy it, but it's up to you. And we are finally done. If you guys want more, make sure to like and subscribe, and if you have any questions, feel free to ask in the comments. Regardless whether you think your question is dumb or not, I'm also open to suggestions to what you guys want a tutorial on. Anyway, thank you for watching. Have a great day.
How can you stop the rain?